This fall, I'm excited to enjoy one of Philly's most walkable neighborhoods that goes car-free during Open Streets, West Walnut. On Sundays starting September 7th through October 12th, everyone can shop, stroll, and socialize along 7 city blocks of pedestrian-friendly space in Center City, including sections of West Walnut and 18th Streets. There's going to be outdoor dining, live entertainment, and retail promotions. It's really a peaceful way to enjoy this expansion of public space. For more details, head over to centercityphila.org/open streets. For more details, head over to centercityphila.org/open streets. All week, we've been hanging out on South Street, learning about its past, present, and future. Today, I'm with our Hey Philly newsletter editor, Siani Colón. She's been exploring the businesses, bars, and even bookshops in Queen Village. That's a neighborhood along the east side of South Street. It's Thursday, September 11th. I'm Trenae Nuri. Let's hang out in Queen Village. Hey, Siani.
Hey, Trenae.
You've already done a neighborhood guide for Graduate Hospital. That's on the west side of South Street. Our listeners and our readers can check that out in the show notes. But today we're going to explore all the places you went to in Queen Village.
Yes, this was a fun and challenging guide at the same time to put together.
Because there's just so much stuff, right?
Yes, I was just like walking around and, finding, businesses that I hadn't heard of for the very first time and just really trying to narrow down these picks. I know there's a lot of discourse about, the future of South Street and the businesses that are anchoring that corridor. But you can't deny the fact that Queen Village as a whole is just so vibrant with such a variety of businesses, from the tailors on Fabric Row to the cafes, the restaurants. You can't go to that neighborhood and say you're bored because there's so much to do.
So let's start with the restaurants.
Yes, I think the first thing we have to shout out is famous 4th Street Delicatessen. This is a longtime staple in the community. I mean, we're taking it all the way back to 1923, and it's keeping that style and its design, and it is absolutely incredible. I know the CityCast Philly team, we went for a team lunch, and we were caught by surprise how big those portions were.
I had the turkey Reuben, and we also had like a sampling of appetizers. But that turkey Reuben was like, I had to break it apart just to like stuff it in my mouth because it was huge.
It was, oh my gosh, I had the corned beef Reuben, and that was just absolutely incredible. I could only make it to one half of it. I had to take it home. So
that was lunch and dinner.
Listen, and you had all the latkes that were also included in the side. Like, the sides were incredible. So if you're going to go out to eat, it's a perfect lunch spot. Definitely be prepared to take away leftovers unless you came really hungry. But it's absolutely worth a visit.
And those desserts were pretty amazing too.
Oh, the black and white cookie.
That was the size of my face. Okay, what other spots would you recommend down there?
Yeah, so Scampi is another popular spot. It has a rotating menu of dishes highlighting different parts of Italy. So if you can't hop on a plane to get to Italy, you can at least have a little bit of that experience right there in Queen Village. It's a BYOB, which luckily there's plenty of spots that you can go to right in Queen Village to pick up a bottle if you want to bring that with you. And they host chef residencies. So in September, they have a residency with Habibi Supper Club. So you get a range of what these different Philly chefs have to offer. But the hours are limited, so you want to make sure that you claim your spot early. Twisted Tail is another spot to recommend. It's a little bit closer to that border with Society Hill. They have a social hour daily from 4 to 6 p.m. And some of their everyday specials include $7 appetizers, $1 oysters. So definitely, shuck for a buck. Take advantage of that. Keeping Philly's oyster history alive. $6 house wines and half off on draft beers.
Great.
Another spot to definitely check out is Bridget and Foy's on 2nd Street. That's been a staple in the community since 1978 and still
Wow.
going strong.
Hmm.
They have indoor and outdoor dining options. But what I noticed, they currently have all you can eat pasta every Monday from 4 to 9 p.m., and that's $30 per person. So you get a rotating selection of house-made pasta, garlic bread, and salad. And if you're looking to be entertained or a little bit competitive, on Thursday nights at 7, they have trivia with a DJ.
Oh, fun. We'll talk more about maybe some music options in Queen Village. Tell me about the bakery that you went to, because we did an episode with Infatuation Philly about best bakeries in the city, which included a bakery in Queen Village.
Yes, Majdal Bakery. I have been wanting to check this out for such a long time. So if you're interested in trying out some Middle Eastern baked goods, this is the spot to go to. What I really like is that their baked goods also have like a savory taste to them. So you're not just going for these sweet, sugary, like go-to things when we think of bakeries. One thing that they have is the shashuka safeha, which is a roasted local tomatoes with onions and peppers, topped with a nice jammy egg, as they describe. So that's like a nice summery dish that you can get at this bakery. Another bakery I would also recommend is Sam Shaw's Treatery on 3rd Street. This is where you can go ham when it comes to your sweet tooth, with the selection of cookies that are always fresh. And you can see the selection that's available today right there at the window. And you can also pick up some snacks, gourmet foods, and other gifts for your kitchen right there. They had a selection of Kensington Food Company jams that I have been trying to hunt down for ages. So this is definitely a one-stop shop to satisfy your sweet tooth while also picking up other selections for your kitchen.
Love it. Okay, when I'm thinking of bakeries, I also think, all right, I need like a coffee with my sweet treat. So tell me about some of the coffee shops in Queen Village.
Well, you put me on to Ace Coffee Outpost, which I was really excited to go to for the first time.
Well, actually, thank Abby, our producer, for that, because Abby put me onto Ace Coffee Shop.
Listen, we're putting everyone on, and now we're putting our audience onto it. I highly recommend checking this out. It's both a coffee shop as well as a vintage store. So when it comes to those old school threads and jerseys, this is the spot that you can really check that out at. But also get your coffee. I'm personally not much of a coffee drinker, but I had their iced blueberry latte, and it was so good. Definitely worth it.
I love Ace too, because they have like a wall where like the community can post flyers, which I find really interesting, because that helps you get to know the neighborhood too, about what events are happening. And also, this space has like this giant projector, which I also
Yes.
think is pretty neat. So yeah, check out Ace. Hang out at Ace.
It's such a chill vibe. And just, as I was sitting there and just listening to some of the chatter in the background, it's a lot of people who are new to the city and visiting for the first time. I heard one person explain to their friend about why Philly sports fans are the way they are. Another person was trying to organize like this vintage pop-up. So it's definitely a really communal space that is very welcoming.
Love it. And right next door is a spot called Red Hook Coffee.
But yeah, it's very convenient. So if, say, maybe Ace is too busy one day and you need another coffee spot to go to, that's right next door. Very much of a cozy vibe. But what's interesting about them is they have a rotating soup menu. So as it starts to cool down and you want to warm up, maybe you don't want to grab a coffee. You want a nice, good bowl of soup.
Love a soup. Soup in sweater weather.
Okay, Shot Tower is another place I'd highly recommend. What I really like about it is that there's a lot of natural light that's coming in. There's enough seating for folks as well. There's a nice big table in the center, along with some other tables inside and some outdoor seating. So when the weather's real nice, it's nice to just sit out there and relax. And they have a pretty good magazine selection. So maybe put your phone down and enjoy a nice magazine while you sip on your coffee or tea.
On your list, you also have Spread, classic Philly bagel spot.
Yes, If you're, longtime Philadelphians and you remember where the Johnny Rockets was,
I do.
RIP, there is another spot that you can go to get your fill. So Spread is right there on 5th and South. Stock up on your savory bagels in the morning.
And not only just bagels, but the bagel breakfast sandwiches. Siani, you can get a cheesesteak basically on a bagel at Spread.
Listen, one thing about Philly, we're going to put a cheesesteak in everything. It's going to be in our bagels. It's going to be in our egg rolls.
In our pretzels.
Who knows what's coming next at this point?
Right. Well, speaking of cheesesteaks, we got to talk about the late night eats. And that's after the break. The Pottery Spottery, a paint-your-own pottery studio, is now open. The studio is located at 1805 East Passyunk Avenue. It's fun and easy. Simply choose an item to paint, like a gnome, a mug, a unicorn, or a flower pot. You can choose your favorite colors and then paint. They have over 100 items to choose from, starting at just $15. One price includes time in the studio, everything you need to create, and firing of your masterpiece in their kiln. The Pottery Spottery fires your creation for you, so don't worry about that. You don't need a reservation, and you can actually reserve their large back room for parties. The grand opening is Friday, September 12th. Learn more at thepotteryspottery.com. September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Kidney cancer is one of the most common types of childhood cancer. The Kidney Center Association is committed to creating awareness and raising funds for research to find a cure through Chalk Your Walk. Kids, artists, and anyone with a heart for kids can raise awareness for childhood kidney cancer by chalking up their pavement with messages of hope. Find out more at chalkyourwalk.org. For me, mornings are chaos. Getting the kids ready for school, squeezing in a 4-mile walk before my production meeting, grabbing my Huel Black Edition saves my mornings. I used to get hangry and reach for several cups of coffee before, but now I actually feel satisfied and on my game in the mornings. Fall is coming up. School and work are ramping up. Life is busy for all of us. I get it. You get it. Time is tough to come by, especially to get a meal that helps you towards your goals. Fortunately, Huel gets it too. It's spelled Huel. Their Black Edition powder is a complete meal, so you feel full, focused, and ready for the day. At less than $3 per meal, it's packed with 40 grams of plant protein and 27 essential vitamins and minerals. No added sugar, it's gluten-free, tastes great, with flavors like vanilla, salted caramel, and chocolate. Plus, it keeps me full for hours. It's perfect for breakfast, lunch, or post-workout. And just when you thought Huel had everything covered, they've just dropped a first-of-its-kind super greens drink in a can. It's called the Huel Daily Greens Ready to Drink. Forget the powders, forget the pills. There's no mixing, no mess. It's quick and convenient without compromising nutrients. It's sparkling and it comes in flavors like blueberry, apple, and peach. 42 vitamins, minerals, and superfoods. Only 25 calories, 4 grams of fiber, 1 gram of sugar. Made by dietitians. Try Huel with 15% off for new customers today using my code Philly at Huel.com/Philly. Fuel your best performance with Huel today. All right, before the break, we talked about cheesesteaks, and Queen Village and South Street in general is the spot for cheesesteaks in Philly. Where should people go?
We cannot talk about South Street if we do not talk about Jim's. That is such a staple in a neighborhood in Philadelphia. No matter when you visit, there's usually a line, but it's there for a reason. It is
because it's good.
And it's really such a comeback story for gyms. There was that devastating fire in 2022 that had put them out for some time, but they, are back. They expanded the space with the old Eyes Gallery, which you guys had a chance to visit. And now you can dine on your cheesesteaks among these beautiful mosaics that are inside the space.
And our listeners can check out part 3 of our South Street series where we stood in that space, which was just, there was so much natural sunlight coming through the skylight. And yeah, so that conversation about how Jim's started its cheesesteak business and then also recovered after the fire is in part 3 of our South Street series, which is in our feed right now. Okay. Also, a while back, I took on a challenge to eat a bunch of cheesesteaks in Philly. And one of the spots that I went to was called Ishkabibbles. But Ishkabibbles isn't like Jim's because there's actually 2 Ishkabibbles on South Street.
Yeah, so the more the merrier. You can head to the one closer to 4th and South or the one closer between 5th and 6th. The interesting thing about them, they claim, to be the home of the original chicken cheesesteak. So if you're trying to switch up your cheesesteak orders, I got put onto chicken cheesesteaks in high school, and that's kind of like half the time I'm ordering chicken cheesesteaks. I had one just the other day. And what's nice about, Ishkabibbles is they're open later. Sometimes it's hard to, get a late night treat, whether you're getting the munchies really late at night or you're getting off of work late. So depending what day of the week you're there, it closes at 11 or midnight. So that gives you some extra time to go to either location and get your fill.
Yes, great spot.
So right by Ishkabibbles on 4th and South is Lorenzo's Pizza. Trenae, have you eaten there before?
Yes, and I had the big ass pizza slice. These pizza slices are insane. It kind of reminds me of like New York style, where it's kind of like a thin crust, but like the slice is bigger than your face.
Well, that's the one thing around Queen Village. You can get these big ass cookies, these big ass pizza slices. You're gonna get your fill.
Absolutely. Okay, late night eats kind of puts me in the same mindset of, where are the bars in Queen Village? Where should we hang out?
So Milk Boys definitely want to check out right on 4th and South. Again, keeping the cheesesteak conversation going. I got put onto their cauliflower cheesesteak. So before anyone yells at me about saying that's not a cheesesteak,
it's technically not, but I'll let you slide.
Listen, it's really good. And if you, can't consume meat, this is a nice alternative. But if you're a stickler for a proper cheesesteak, the good news is they also sell Jim's steak. So if you want the real deal and want to skip the line across the street, you can order from Milk Boy and they'll have it handled for you. Milk Boy is also open till 11 p.m. some nights, others till 1 a.m. So you have extra time to get that cauliflower cheesesteak and your drink. And if you're looking for some entertainment, on Tuesdays, they have an open mic, karaoke on Wednesday evenings, and trivia on Thursdays.
Nice.
Another bar to check out along South Street is Tattooed Mom, which a lot of people are familiar with. We recently got a mom's chip, which is good for 50 cents off every item not already on the special. And that's good for life. So make nice with the staff.
Yes. It felt so cool to get that. It's like, I feel like I'm a member for life.
And it's a cool place to be a member for life because you step in and you're transported. I mean, it's covered wall to wall with stickers. We contributed our own CityCast stickers on there. And it just has like this cool grittiness to it. But I think what I really love about them is that this is also a good spot if you want some vegan bar food. So kind of keeping that theme along. They have, your typical non-vegan food, but if you need access to that as a food option, they have that on the menu. And it's also a really community-oriented space that I found. A lot of these places do have these events of the open mics and artist markets, but they really make it really welcoming for people to just like come in, collaborate, and host these different events that are just trying to bring people together and for a good cause.
Love it.
Trenae, have you checked out Fat Tuesday?
Okay, I've been to Milk Boy, been to Tattooed Moms, but Fat Tuesday, I've never been. And I know that seems like, what? You've been in Philly for years. I haven't checked it out yet. But I know of Fat Tuesday.
Yeah, Fat Tuesdays open practically every day from noon until 2 a.m. So that's another spot where if you're looking for a late night eat somewhere between $10 to $20, you can pop in there with that New Orleans inspired vibe. Get some cocktails while you're there as well. And it's right along the main strip of South Street where you see a lot of the quirkier stores. Like one well-known spot that's right next door on South Street is Condom Kingdom, which CityCast Philly had interviewed the owner for our South Street series.
What's also cool about Fat Tuesday is that when you're walking along South Street, you can see people sitting outside looking out. So the bar has seating where you can look onto South Street. And so you can see folks walking by. Siani, tell me about maybe some other spots we can hang out along South Street.
So one spot I was really excited to see open on South Street is Pop Culture Vulture. I have so many memories as a kid of just like going to Blockbuster and Hollywood Video, for those who remember, and just getting my stack of VHS tapes or DVDs that we can rent out. And even though those chains are no longer in existence, this spot is really filling that void as a one-stop shop for DVDs, CDs, any type of physical media that's getting you off of streaming and get back to owning. So I think that's, one thing. We don't own our stuff anymore. Things can, not get a license and then you can't see it on Netflix or anything. So this is a chance that you can, get some of that Blockbuster nostalgia back. Their DVD rentals is $150 for 2 weeks. So that isn't too bad. And you can also access some games and other pop culture merch that really channel that nostalgia with that blast from the past. Another spot that I really like is South Street Art Mart. It has such a punchy exterior just right there on 4th Street. And they sell a bunch of buttons, zines, cards, just anything that's really supporting these independent artists right here in Philadelphia. Eyes Gallery is also a really special spot. We had mentioned them earlier with the fire at Jim. So their original location was unfortunately impacted by the fire, but they had reopened not too far away on South Street. So that's a really nice spot that you can access a lot of like Latin American folk art, whether it's some sculptures, dolls, artwork that you can hang in your home. It's absolutely incredible, just the intricacies of the design and color. And they have a lot of clothing for sale. I may or may not have impulsively bought a dress that has a cowgirl pattern on it, but I know that it's going to be fun to wear. So it's a nice spot to get something that's a little bit more unique to have in your wardrobe or your home. And this is also owned by Julia Zagar, who Isaiah and Julia are behind the Magic Gardens further down on South Street.
Okay, well, speaking of clothing and thrifting, which I know is really big in Queen Village.
Yeah, there's such a plethora of vintage and thrift shops. One spot I really like is Retrospect Vintage. They have a pretty good mix of things, whether it's like home goods and wares, clothing. I think my best find there is that I found a pair of roller skates that were in my exact size, in great condition. And
wow.
Yes, that's a lucky find.
Yes.
And I wasn't setting out to find it. So I think that's one thing to keep in mind when it comes to thrifting, is that you may not find the thing you're setting out to look for, but you might find some pretty good stuff along the way by surprise. And then you have Philly A's Thrift, which is celebrating 20 years, Rax Vintage, Bebop. These are all scattered around Queen Village. So if you are looking for something a little bit more curated, or just ready to just dive into the big donation bins and see what you can get out of that haul, you have a pretty good mix of clothing you can find there. Another good spot I really like is Stitch and Destroy. And that's another example of how active the circular economy and sustainability really is in the neighborhood, because you're taking these old threads and repurposing them to make new clothing. And it really you have something unique. So anything that's sold there, you're not going to find the exact same thing elsewhere or even on the same rack. And they also host clothing swaps, craft swaps, and sewing classes. So you can learn how to make the things they're also selling.
Okay, Siani, take me to some bookshops in Queen Village.
I love to spend some time over at Atomic Comics. Right now, I am locked into the DC universe and Batman, and I can find all those comics right there at Atomic City Comics. What's really cool about them, they're the only Black-owned comic book shop in Philadelphia, and they have all your comic and manga needs in one place. They got some games that are in the back, so you can get as well single issue comics or these larger volumes, maybe some little figures of your favorite characters. And the other cool thing about the shop is that the owner also owns Dream Eerie by 7th and South. So this is just right outside the borders of Queen Village, but I want to give them a shout out because when it comes to what makes South Street quirky and unique, this place sells gothic furniture. Like, we're talking taxidermy, coffins, you name it. So if that's your style or you just want to check something else out that's different, that has all your gothic spooky needs right there.
Okay, interesting. What about Head House Books?
Head House Books is such a cozy space, which as soon as you walk in, it just kind of gets larger and larger, like very bigger on the inside vibe. The staff there are completely friendly and they just have such a wide selection of books, whether it's their top selections, the new releases. I had just bought the Sicilian Inheritance, which has been on my list for some time, and that's also a Philly author. And you also have, some puzzles and games that are also for sale in the back. And they do have a space in the front where you can learn about the latest happenings in a city or a Queen Village. So you can stick out your own info there as well. If you're looking for something a little bit more niche, you can check out Garland of Letters. Not too hard to miss because it has a giant lion statue right out front with a flower crown on top of it. You smell the incense wafting through the door just passing by. So it really gives this sense of peace as soon as you get there. So definitely for the spiritualists or people interested in exploring that. I've picked up a plentitude of crystals while I've been there. You can get your tarot, singing bowls, which I've also gotten there, and just a wide selection of books that are available there.
Okay, great.
Another cool spot is Another Corner, and that is also a niche bookstore, particularly for hobbyists. So they have a rotating collection each month with a different theme. So they've done photography, birding, biking, hiking. This is really helping people explore another corner of their life by helping them get access to these books and gears to explore these interests. And they do different pop-ups in the shop as well. There's been, Philly chefs doing pop-ups where they're baked goods. There's been artist pop-ups. They had this past summer a kite gallery that was in there and using kites as a form of art and expression. So if you're looking for something to do, this is the spot to find a new hobby.
Nice. Well, speaking of hobbies, there's some game shops in Queen Village.
I feel like I go to Queen and Brook enough. I might as well just live there. It is so cool. They had expanded to this location close to Front and South. And has such a large dining room. And we're talking about like thousands of games available. And their game master is incredible to help you figure out, do you want to play something that's a little bit more competitive between friends? Do you want to do something a little bit more cooperative? And to play is $7 per person. They have a pretty good dining menu that is very Latin American and Asian inspired. And it's also vegan friendly and has some gluten-free options as well. If you have some dietary restrictions, we play on and on there for sure. We can be there for hours. And if you are more into video games, in the downstairs level, they have an arcade if you don't want to go the classic board game route. And if you want to own some of the games you play, they have a store adjacent to the gaming cafe.
Great. There's something also special about Queen Village. There's a boutique hotel.
Yaoi is so cool. This had originally started as just a little boutique shop, and it has expanded now to a hotel, shop, and design studio. So it's really perfect for a staycation if you want a break from the typical thing, but maybe don't want to go too far from Philly. Or maybe you're visiting Philly and want to have a little bit of a different experience. And it's really in a prime location because you're near the Delaware waterfront. Bella Vista and Italian Market are within walking distance. Center City is north of ya. And there's a few SEPTA routes that pass by. So it's in a really accessible spot, whether you want to hang around Queen Village or get to some nearby neighborhoods in Philly. And if you want to stock up on even more coffee, Foreign Cafe is right next door.
Great. So you laid out a great landscape of the businesses and bars and bookstores that we can go in Queen Village. What about some maybe events that are happening throughout the year?
So Brauhaus Schmitz hosts a Mayfest and Oktoberfest. So it's a celebration of all things drinking, German culture. So if you want to get your drink on, maybe outside of the bars, this takes over the streets, and other businesses also join in on the fun as this like larger block party. So I know like Queen and Rook this year, they're having a kind of like Renaissance fair. So if you can't make it out to Lancaster for the PA Renaissance fair, you can have that right out front during the Oktoberfest festivities. Philly AIDS Drift, they have their annual block party. They've raised millions of dollars to support organizations supporting people with HIV and AIDS. And this is just a celebration of the work that you're doing through the thrift store to support these communities. And they have a range of things. You have the dunk tanks, you have apparently sword-eating and fire-eating clowns, because we're not just doing balloon animals anymore, and plenty of community vendors who are selling their artwork, food out on the streets, just to have a good time. One of South Street's annual festivals, one of their largest events, is South Street Live. So that one is really culminating the spirit of South Street, all things independent, lovingly weird, artistic, all in one space, whether it's the live music, immersive art that you can interact with, giving a chance for all these businesses that are still holding down the fort on that corridor to present themselves to larger communities, show that we're still here, we have so much to offer, and really engaging with each other, whether it's supporting that local business by making a purchase, listening to the live music of the performers who's keeping the soundtrack of South Street alive. And with 2025's South Street Live, for example, that had coincided with multiple events happening along several blocks of South Street. So as like Mayfest, as I mentioned, those live performances and flower crowns, it coincided with Free Comic Book Day, the South Street Vinyl Block Party. So you're heading over to Repo Records. So all along that strip, there are plenty of activities that are happening each year to just celebrate what makes South Street South Street.
All right. Thanks, Siani, for this great list of things to do in Queen Village.
Thanks for having me.
If you want even more recommendations of what to do in Queen Village, head over to philly.citycast.fm and click the Neighborhood Guides tab. That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. If you enjoyed this neighborhood guide all about Queen Village and the businesses on South Street, tell your friends. Rate the show, leave us a review, and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to sign up for our morning newsletter, Hey Philly, to learn more about what else Philly's talking about. And don't forget, you can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Philly neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with the Friday News Roundup. Bye.